I don't care what shampoo anyone in this room uses, but I do care how you experience our backyard. It is so nice to bring people out onto the river, onto the bike trails, playing paintball, and have them experience the great outdoors and all the benefits that come with what we do in this industry.
Striving for excellence in hospitality and tourism. Welcome to Pocono Mountains Podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Jim Hamill. This is Season 4, Episode 24. We are blessed to have such a destination and core tourism industry that we do. For generations, the Poconos has set the standard for getaways, family resorts, lakeside cabins, seasonal attractions, and so much more. A few months back, our industry came together at Kalahari Resorts and Conventions for a summit to celebrate the magic of hospitality. The Pocono Mountains Visitors Bureau and its members and partners shared insights as well as a collaborative spirit. We'll hear from several of those industry leaders in just a bit. The Poconos is a year-round destination for millions, with 2,400 square miles of mountains, forests, lakes, and rivers, with iconic family resorts and historic downtowns. It's the perfect getaway. You can always find out more on PoconoMountains.com or watch PTN, the Pocono Television Network, streaming live 24/7. Now, back to the episode. The Pocono Mountains Tourism Day Summit was held back in May with a keynote speaker who was dynamic, but one of the more insightful moments was a discussion between industry peers, the kind of folks who are leading various resorts and hospitality businesses. Each brings unique points of view from their experience and love for the hospitality industry. Here's our Executive Vice President, Brian Bossett of the Pocono Mountains Visitors Bureau, moderating the panel session, Striving for Excellence in Hospitality and Tourism. And just so everybody knows who we're hearing from Don Plow with Kalahari Resorts and Conventions, Bill Rader with Mountain Springs Lake Resort, Sierra Fogel with Pocono Whitewater, Pocono Biking and Skirmish Paintball, as well as Genevieve Reese with the French Manor Inn and Spa. Enjoy.
I just want to take a brief moment just for everyone to introduce themselves a little bit. I know you've heard from Don and Jenny, but just a little bit overview. We're really going to look at how their careers have led them to where they are, why they really appreciate hospitality, and some of the things they're doing with their employees, their properties, and their culture. So that's really what we're going to look at today. It's going to be conversational and just learning from them. They all have great stories, so I think it's great that you all get to hear that and just learn from them from the different things that they're doing. I'll kick it off with Don.
Oh, thanks. So I actually started my career, Brian, as a dishwasher when I was 14. And I was working on the second and third shift at this restaurant in Colorado where I grew up. And had a really strong bar rush every night at 2 a.m. And the cook would say, hey, come up here and run toast for me and during the breakfast rush. And that's how I started my career. From there, I went into culinary arts. And I had a great career in the culinary arts all the way to executive chef of a 4-star, 4-diamond resort. I love that. But I wanted to do more. So then I transitioned to food and beverage and worked in food and beverage for another, 7-10 years. That's how I joined this company, Kalahari, as food and beverage director. And after we opened the resort at the end of the summer, they said, you want to stay and become the general manager? I said, sure, why not? My kids were gone, so I did, and I've been doing it now for, 9 years, and it's just been a wonderful career. I've traveled all over the place, met thousands and thousands of great people, and it's, I was talking with Tom, one of my friends who was in the business years and years ago and now has a very successful real estate business. We were talking right before the event started, and he started in the hospitality industry as well, and once it's in your blood, it just doesn't leave your blood, and I just love doing this. I love this business.
Great. That's awesome.
So my name is Bill Rader, and my family has been in the resort business in the Poconos since 1945. So we've been doing this a long time. It's a small resort. It's in a little town called Weeders, Pennsylvania. It's called Mountain Springs Lake. We also have an event facility called the Lodge at Mountain Springs Lake. My path, I think everyone has a little bit different path of how your career's gone and what you've done. My path took a little bit different curve along the way. So in a family business, I don't know that you could ever really define when you start working. I think I knew what my first job was in my family business. I'm smiling because it was probably one of the least glamorous jobs. I washed dishes at my sister's restaurant. And my first job was we have gravel roads at our property. And when I was a kid, they were lined by these rocks that were painted white about every 10 feet. So my very first glamour job was I got to paint those rocks all summer long. when I was about 11 years old. And so what I mean by a different path, so I was in the hospitality industry till I was about 33 at my family's business. I took a little bit of a detour. I ended up in the asset management business for about 25 years. And the only reason I'm mentioning that is because what I figured out after a while is that everything that I really needed to understand to be successful in that other industry, I had learned in the hospitality business. So it's those life skills that I think are really important that you can accumulate in this business that is different than any other type of industry, in my opinion. So I retired from the asset management business about 3 years ago, and came back to help my family run the resort. So I'm in charge of the resort business at this point.
Hi, my name is Sierra. On the topic of first jobs, my first job was when I was 10. My mom would pay me $3 a school bus to hang pictures above every window. Fond memories of that. Pocono Whitewater, Pocono Biking, and Skirmish Paintball. It is a family business as well, so it's in my blood. I grew up doing it. I left for college, went to Syracuse University, studied marketing, and told everybody, I'm never going back to Jim Thorpe. I'm leaving. I'm working corporate. I loved it there. Great town. Go visit. Not moving back. So I went to San Francisco, worked for Unilever in the corporate world for a few years. They were great to me, wonderful company. Realized that I don't care what type of shampoo any of you use, and that was my job. So I was managing personal care for Unilever, brands like Axe, Dove, Suave, Tresemme, Q-tips. And as much as they were taking care of me, and it was, these big brands, and I was doing the corporate dream that, you go to college for and you get the big job, I was getting promoted and they wanted to transfer me, and my dad called. He was like, maybe instead of taking this promotion, you should come home and try the family business. And I was like, I don't know. And so I talked to my boyfriend at the time, decided I would come home for a year, give it a shot, have a year, test it out, see if I like it. And then after a year, my boss at Unilever already reassured me that if it's the wrong decision, just to call him. So I did. Came home for a year, and that was 12 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that. So, and what I realized in the move back to Jim Thorpe and the move back to the tourism industry is that I don't care what shampoo anyone in this room uses, but I do care how you experience our backyard. It is so nice to bring people out onto the river, onto the bike trails, playing paintball, and have them experience the great outdoors and all the benefits that come with what we do in this industry. It's so nice to deal with people on their vacations. They're generally happy. We just have to keep them that way, right? So it's just such a nice industry, and it's such a nice group of people to be around day in and day out.
That's excellent, Sierra. I think we all kind of agree with what she's saying. We've grown up in this industry, and it's a friendly industry. People come here to have a good time. So it's been easy to make connections. I'm part of a generational business as well. My parents met at Bushkill Falls Resort in the 60s. In July, they got engaged in August, married in December. I'm one of 7. We all grew up in the industry. He worked at Mount Airy Lodge, and then they had the Sterling Inn, and we now have the French Manor. So since 1990, we've had the French Manor. My son is here, 3rd generation, so he's also working with us now that he's a Penn State grad, so I'm happy to have him there. And it's been a wonderful experience growing up in the business and now being in charge of the French Manor. I work with my sister there, and it's always a pleasure. I walk to work, and every day I think, I'm so lucky. This is such a beautiful area. We love to go on vacation, but every time I come home, I think, there's no place like this. You drive up the hill, and it's green and lush, and there's flowers. We have 4 seasons, water everywhere, whitewater. If anybody here hasn't been to the whitewater experience, it's amazing. And I'm going to hand it back to Brian.
Great. That's like many of you. I started out, my parents managed the rental properties nearby here, and I stripped beds for those when I was about 9 or 10, and then family friends owned a restaurant, and I was bussing tables and washing dishes at 11 years old. So I've been ingrained in this industry as well. I think we've all learned great things that have, taught us how to interact with people, how to, really multitask. That's probably one of our best things that we've learned. So just carrying on with that, I'd really like to speak to you guys about your culture in your businesses and, finding employees and retaining employees. Because I think for all of us, that's probably our biggest and hardest challenge at times. So I'll start with Don again, and then, just look at those different things that you're all doing, because we all have different businesses that we're managing and working through, but it's all the common goal of tourism in the Poconos.
So culture is a really big part of the Kalahari employment experience, and we stress it. We spend a lot of time concentrating and focusing on our associate populations. Very, very important to us. Throughout the entire company, soon to be 5 resorts, we have over 7,000 employees. Here alone, we have over 1,500 employees right now, and as we go into summer, we'll swell to about another 1,700 or so associates. So taking really good care of our associates is very, very important. Everybody has a first name on their name tag. That's very important. I'm not Mr. Plow at all in the building. I'm Don. And we try to break down the relationship between the leaders and the associates to a very, very grassroots level, engage with our team constantly. Retention is very important. This is a challenging labor market that we have here on the mountain. We have to use outside sources to bring enough people to operate the resort. We actually have a 300-bed employee housing building that we built so that we can bring people in to help us with the business levels that we have during the peak times of the year. So it's very, very challenging. We have great benefits. We offer a very aggressive pay scale, but we do a lot of other things as well. Every Sunday, the employee dining room is always complimentary. Last night, we had a manager event. Next week, we have a beginning of summer event for our entire team. It's always doing something to try to engage with our associates and make them know how much we appreciate them. And then the exchange is that the associates have to be as equally engaged as the leadership is with them, with our guests. And every single associate must be engaged with our guests and make sure that they're having a true resort experience. And we focus a lot on it. It's very important to us.
Good. Well, so I was thinking as Don was describing the importance of culture, I think it's the number one component of any company. And what I mean by that is I think it makes or breaks any company, or what the experience is of the people that work there, or the guests that come and visit across the board. And I've worked at companies anywhere from, the largest was 33,000 employees at the time. Smallest I've ever worked at was about 8. It is the number one component of what it feels like to either work there or experience that company as a client. Let me talk a little bit more about that, because one of the things that I think is also really important is to find that North Star when you're thinking about culture. So what are those things that guide your decision-making? And what we've done, at least at our property, is we involved our employees in thinking through how to design like a mission statement and a vision statement to help people understand what we're trying to do, what guides our decision-making. It's basically finding that North Star. And the other part of it is this. As I mentioned, we've been around for a long time, as many of these properties have. And I think every single one of us is always a family business, right? Mm-hmm. And it is those decisions that get people to want to stay there for the long term, because one of the hardest things to do is to find and retain great employees. And we've been fortunate to have people that have stayed on with us for a long time, for the longer term. And they also bring people to our place to find employment and to grow as far as their careers go. So anyway, I just think it's culture, thinking through hiring. We have a little bit different scale that we deal with than what Don does, but same issues, whether it's large or small.
Yeah, I agree. I think flexibility is a big one. We have this industry that's open 7 days a week and 24 hours a day for a lot of us. And so I think we have a nice competitive advantage in that we can be flexible. And so we try to be as much as we can. Your kid has a soccer game, I hope you're at that soccer game, right? And so because we have this culture and this ability to kind of flex hours and work this day instead of this day if need be, we try to really make sure our employees know that we are willing to work with them and to flex with what they need.
Yeah, I think when you're saying community, it goes hand in hand with our staff. I mean, we want our staff to feel like family. We're family businesses. Mm-hmm. So we want them to have the same experiences that we have. I mean, we want their schedule to be flexible. We want them to vacation with their family. We want them to enjoy their family life so that when they come to work, they enjoy their work life, because happy staff makes happy customers. So if we can concentrate on a happy staff, they will concentrate on the happy customers, and it comes full circle. But I do believe that scheduling and just being part of their community. So whatever that means, if they have a golf event that a friend is hosting and they need a gift certificate, I'm happy to do that. We're happy to be part of anything that they feel is important. And then they're part of what we feel is important. So it marries itself.
Great. I think the next thing is the opportunity that hospitality has given all of us. You've all had great stories, but I think what's the opportunity you look at your staff now, and you're finding those gems of staff, and how are you going to bring them along with you, even though they're probably going to get really good at what they're doing and probably go somewhere else. But I want to speak to that. And, Jenny, I'll start with you on this one. But, with a small family business like yours, I'm sure that many people have come through your doors and you've had some really bright stars, and talked about the opportunities that starting with you has given them in their careers.
It's a unique industry in hospitality, because there are some career type positions where we've had people with us for years, but there's also a lot of, on the ground sort of positions where you get these very bright young people into your door that will help elevate your guest experience. But they're, going, to college. You might get them for a couple summers, and it's great to have them, but you're so proud to see them blossom and grow into whatever career move they're looking to do. But as I think, I don't know if Don was saying before, but some of those, experiences that they garner and those young ages, whatever career they go on to, they've learned almost everything they need to be successful in our doors.
I think confidence and public speaking is a big one that we see. As far as if you're a river guide, you have a group of 120 people and you're in charge of them, and they are really far out of their element, right? People are always scared when they go down the river because they've never done anything like it before. And you might be 17, 18, 19, and all of a sudden you're the expert, right? And so you learn how to operate, and you learn how to public speak and how to be confident in what you're doing. And I think that's a skill that really can be honed in this industry and then used in this industry or moved elsewhere. I'll use an example. Doyle Heffley, our local rep, was actually one of our truck crew members a long, long time ago. He was blowing up rafts and working with guests and spent summers with us on the raft truck crew, and now he's our local rep. So you can really start here and do anything that you want to do in life.
And, I don't mean to bring it back to me, but it just reminds me of a story. We have this young man who had worked for us, from 14 on, who had a wonderful scholarship for a biomedical career. So he went away, went for his master's, had a real hard time interviewing still and whatever. It came back to us to work in the dining room so that he could garner some social skills.
Yeah.
And he is now back out and doing what he loves. But he came back because he's like, I just need some more, and I need to be in the dining room, and can you help me talk to people? And come on back, we'll get you all ready and we'll send you back out again.
And you see people from all different walks of life. So you really get familiar with people from everywhere.
Yes.
I already mentioned that, those life skills that I needed to find, that I needed to be successful in the other part of my career, all of them were learned right at my family's small resort right here in the Poconos. The other thing I'm going to mention is this, and I think you all just touched on it, is what's interesting about this business is even if you have not traveled a lot or don't have the experience of traveling a lot, the world comes to you in this business. So you meet all these different types of people. You hear about all these different types of jobs, which ultimately was what made me curious about trying other things, as a young man. So I would just say that the opportunities, if you're open to it, that you can experience in this business are unlike any other business in the world. And I don't know that I can add anything other than that. It's unlimited.
One of the things that's really, really important to our organization is that we are developing people from within. It is what we strive to constantly do. The number of promotions that we have internally in our organization is just amazing. But the ultimate compliment is when someone moves all the way through our organization, excels, for me, this is personally, and then they move on to do something at another place where you can say, this chef who came up through our organization is now the executive chef at this location. or this person is the food and beverage director at this hotel, or this person is a general manager at this resort. And that is the ultimate compliment. Does it cause, some heartache and challenges sometimes as you're taking and working hard with these people and pouring into them to make them be excellent, and then they leave you? Sure. But that is just part of the industry, and that's one of the great things about our industry. And I take a tremendous amount of pride when someone is able to get a great promotion and move on to do something. We concentrate inside of our organization to constantly be doing that. In fact, we do a quarterly associate survey, and one of the questions on the survey is, has your manager spoken to you about your career ambitions? So it's part of the Kalahari culture, and it's very important that we're talking about what the ambitions are. Some people want to come to work and do their job every day, and that's great. We need that. But other people have ambition to go on and do bigger and better things in their life, and we need that, and we love that.
And just building upon that, I think, for a lot of people in this room, and I know we have some students in this room as well, I think sometimes the hospitality industry has a bad rap on, pay, scale, things like that. But everything that you guys have all talked about is really it's a great starting point when you might not know what you want to do, or it's a great place to come back if you have challenges in your current industry. So just speaking of that, what are the ways that you're looking at attracting that younger audience and letting them know those different things? Because as an industry, we've been fighting that battle for a very long time. And I know we're getting better at telling our story, but are you doing things, to reach that younger audience? Are you doing things with your current staff to find a different audience? Because that's really where we're going to start to build. We have a big gap between the younger audience and the older audience that we have. We have employees that have been with us forever, but they're going to move on as well, retire and do different things. So what are the ways that you're working through that? I'll start with you.
So I'm really lucky because we have a tremendous amount of entry-level positions, especially in our water park, and we are more than happy to employ minors. And we actually work with the local schools to bring people here and give them their first opportunity to have a job. And we're very specific on the schedule, and we're very flexible on the schedule. And we make it very, very palatable for someone to have their first job here. And a lot of those people will come in. And even in the water park, we have an opportunity for tremendous advancement where they can come in as an entry-level person, leave as a water park manager or something, and it's great. Or they move into the resort and they transition into the resort. We do that in all of our positions. But I just want to speak to one point is I am sick and tired of people talking about the fact that hospitality jobs are not good jobs. I'm just over that. Thank you. I have quite a few of the leaders of this building are sitting in the room right here, and every one of them is making a nice paycheck, and they have a great environment to work in, and they have great opportunity for enhancement. And I've got servers and bartenders that will not take a promotion to become a leader because they're making really good money and they like what they do. So this whole idea that our jobs are not good jobs is just a misnomer. And every opportunity I have to share that, whether it's on this platform, in a political platform, wherever the conversation I have, I just make a point to share my opinion of that. I'm just so sick of that. I'm sure that you three are as well. Talk about an insult to us. Here we've been in the hospitality industry our whole life. Why? Because we're losers and we can't do anything well? I'm sorry. It's been pretty good to me. Thank you.
Don, I agree with that. I came back to it.
Right.
I had a great career outside of this, and I came back to it because it was a great opportunity. I had great memories of this area. And, the thing that I think we try to do, I mentioned a couple things. Number one, we try to involve our people in our decision-making and thinking about what we should do next. We're active learners. We're trying to think about different ways to do things better, maybe a little bit faster, and to make it fun. And the reason I mention that is because of this. The world, I was gone for 25 years. I jokingly have called myself the Rip Van Winkle of the Poconos because I left the hospitality industry in my early 30s, came back in my late 50s, and it kind of looked the same on the surface, but it had become incredibly more complex. This is going to sound crazy. When I left this area, my family's business didn't have a website. So think about that, how much things changed. The reason I'm bringing it up is because if you don't get your people involved and help you try to understand what's next, and when I say your people, it's not just the folks we are fortunate enough to have as colleagues in our company, but also the folks that we work with that are outside our companies that are contributors. Matter of fact, I have both an employee and a contributor that's here with us today, and they provide invaluable advice. And the reason I mention that is because I believe and I hope, and what we're trying to do is help people feel invested. And I think that is one of the most critical things you can do with any business, not just this business. But, back to what Don said, the things you can learn here, you can take anywhere.
So, Bill, I got a question for you. Those 25 years you were gone and you've come back from the hospitality industry, which career was more rewarding for you?
I'm not going back to the other one.
Going back to your question, Brian, I think we do a lot of trying to develop the younger generations, not just to get them to work for us, but also to understand how cool the opportunity is that they have here in their backyard. So we do, just this past week, we've been doing trips with the local high schools, getting them on the river. Ideally, we would love for them all to become river guides, but if they at least understand what they have in their neighborhood, it doesn't matter if they work for us or not, they're going to be good stewards of this entire region. And so we do a lot of trying to make sure we are modeling good stewards behavior as a company, and then trying to get some of the younger generation to experience it and to understand it. And I think that helps a lot indirectly, because if you've gone down the river before, or you know what we have, or you've been on the bike trail, then maybe it comes up over dinner, and maybe your parents worked for us a long time ago, and as long as they had a good experience and those are good people to work for, yeah, why don't you go try to get a job there? It doesn't even mean that they're necessarily interested or looking, but if you become this part of your community and you're known for treating people right and for having flexibility and for working with people of all different ages and demographics, then I think it makes it easier if people come to you. And so we try a lot to just make sure that we're getting that full package.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think that if you try to be inclusive and you try to, with these younger staff, value their opinion, and they can be part of some of that decision making and part of the plan of moving forward, they know that, and they'll talk about it with their friends in their community, and you can attract some of those wonderful staff. Even if they're the young staff, they have great opinions, and we need them, because I'll remind my son, I'm out of that target demographic, so I need the younger ideas. We need them. So we welcome any of those entry-level positions.
And it goes both ways. I've hired 16-year-olds, and then the next summer their parents want to work, right? Just part-time, here and there. Oh, they're having so much fun. I could use a little extra, and so it works both ways.
That's a whole employment demographic that's really starting to be prevalent in our industry, is the part-time retirement demographic, where we have a lot of people that will come to work, 1 or 2 days a week for us that have retired. They want a little pocket money. They want something to do. We even have some people that come back and join us on a full-time status. So you go from both ends of the spectrum.
So one more question before we wrap up for all of you. And this is, part of our conference today, and some of the things I'm going to be talking about is, how are you looking at technology to help you in the future with employees and those things? Because there is going to be ways that's going to enhance your employees and be able to help them further, but it also is going to help with some of the challenge with operations. So what are the ways you guys are looking at that? And I'll start with Don.
Well, I'm really lucky because of the size of the organization. It's a very, very smart building, a very smart organization. But we do everything virtual when it comes to employment. It's everything that we do virtual. But we also have it set up for someone wants to come in and fill out a piece of paper to get an application. We do that as well. You have to be flexible. You have to transition to everything electronic, but you have to be flexible as well and to meet people where they are, wherever they are in their journey in life. But we do constant advertisement for more associates, lots and lots of information. We use a lot of video experiences to touch people, to see what the experience might be like at work. But it's a constant, endeavor for us to be more electronic, to reach people where they are. And I think that's the key, especially in the younger generation, is you have to reach people where they are. I mean, I'm not a TikTok user. You saw my picture. There's a reason why I know. But if that's where we have to go, Instagram and Snapchat, if that's where we have to go to touch people, then that's where we're going to go to touch people, whatever we have to do.
Okay. Go.
So I would say that's been the biggest learning curve for me in coming back over the last 2.5, 3 years. And there's a couple things I'm going to mention here, whether we like it or not. And I mean, our resort is a small place compared to Don's place and many others in the area, but we don't have the luxury to think small. And the reason I say that is we are competing with them, even though we're all colleagues here, we're all competing for people's attention to come and visit our place, or employees and things like that. So one of the things that is, I think, mission critical for any company of any size is you need to understand your data. In other words, who's looking at you, who's trying to find you, how do you help them find you, and how do you represent yourself out in the digital space? And the reason I mention that is because what we've found is this. Not only does how you represent who you are and what you present to people help new guests and new people find you, it also really solidifies the people that return to your resorts, who you are, what your North Star is. I mean, bottom line is all of us up here and all of you are in the memory and experience business. So you want people to have these memories and experiences that they want to return to, right? And that also applies just as importantly to your employees. And the reason I'm mentioning all these things is because that is, whether it comes to data or digital or marketing, that is one of the most important things you can think about right now, because it involves all of those constituencies that I just mentioned. The other thing I want to talk about is this, just in this industry, I want to mention something about not just the Pocono Mountain Visitors Bureau, but also the people that are part of this. I came back and it was like cold turkey. I had no clue what was going on as far as marketing and digital, all that good stuff. And when I think about all the people that helped me, I'm going to start with Marlon Kisner. She's the membership director. I came back and I'm like, I'm just going to pick up the phone and start calling people because I can see we're just going to run over if we don't figure this out. Marlon, Brian's been a massive contributor in just helping us get to it. Then there's been people in the industry that I just literally picked up the phone and called. And the way I did that is I just I looked at PMBB's website. I'm like, gee, who's on the board of directors? So I just started calling people. And these people actually took my call. They're my competitors. And I think one of the things that I want to mention about that is that set me on the right trail to figure out whether it's digital or I'm sitting here looking at Nikki Hurley right in front of me. Nikki made a speech at the marketing event. I think it was 2 years ago, Nikki, year and a half, whenever it was, talking about partnerships. I'm like, okay, I'm going to call Nikki and talk about partnership. Now we're partnered with Pocono Whitewater, right? So it's those things, not just thinking about how to find your way through that data, but also remember the human aspect. There are people here that will help you figure that out. So no matter what size business you're in, you can make it happen.
Bill, you bring up a really good point, and I've worked in lots of different areas in the country, and here I've never seen a community, even though we're all competing against each other, a community that's so tight-knit together and comes together. And when Bill Colavito at Great Wolf, they announced they were adding the rooms that they added, and by the way, Bill turned 60 a couple days ago. If you see him, make sure he's older than me too, so just so you know. Are you concerned about Bill's additional rooms? I said, no, not really, because all ships benefit from a rising tide. And even though we're competing against each other and we have very different products, very different experiences, even just sitting on the stage, I mean, there's 4 very different experiences. It benefits us all. And we would be illogical not to work together to help benefit our entire region. So it's a very unique thing about our industry, and it's very unique about our region. If you go to a city, a big city hotel, those guys are cutthroat, and they're just going after each other because they'll drop their rate by $15 and destroy their ADR just to drive business and steal it away from the next guy. It doesn't work like that here on the mountain. It's a very unique environment, and it's very enjoyable. See ya?
Yeah.
I think on the technology question, we try to strike a balance. So we try to make people's jobs easier by using technology so that they can work as efficiently as possible. But when people come to us, we actually want them to leave their technology behind, right? And so our goal is to get people out on the playing fields or, on the trail or on the river without their technology. And that goes for our staff as well. Sure, put it in the med kit so you have it in case of an emergency, but otherwise, you don't have a desk job. 90% of our staff does not have a desk job. So leave your technology behind and get out there and make those personal connections and get off your phone and just enjoy life. And that's what we try to make sure we balance with our staff and our guests. And they want their camera. Okay, have your camera. Maybe put on airplane mode. You're not going to have service most of the day anyway, right? So embrace that, enjoy that, and use the day to just realize you actually don't have to check that email.
Price. That's a good point. I think that's what we're all trying to promote. It's difficult when they're at the resort because sometimes they're there on a work vacation as well. So we try to present it so that we just implemented something where they can actually pre-register, check in before they even get there, and we'll have the key in the room, and they don't have to even see anybody if they don't have to. But we're there willing to walk them to the room if they'd like and show them how to do everything in the room and how to turn on the fireplace and that. So as much or little contact as they'd like, but throughout the property there's Wi-Fi. So if they can enjoy the hot tub area and fireplace, but if they have to bring their computer, they can, and it can be seamless. So we just try to embrace what people need, but try to provide such an experience that hopefully they don't need the technology. I like your point.
No, I think that's great. I really appreciate everyone giving their time today for this. And, touching on everything you guys have said, I think since I've been in this position in the Visitors Bureau for almost 10 years now, the collaboration of our industry, especially in the Pocono Mountains, has been just a wonderful thing to see. And, I have counterparts all over the country that don't really get to see that. And, I can call anyone for certain things or information that's going to help my job, help other people in the room. And I don't think you get that anywhere else. So, I want to thank everyone that participated today, and thank you all. This was really great, and I hope everyone enjoyed it and learned a lot. So, thank you.
If you'd like to watch this segment in its entirety, head to PoconoMountains.com and search for Tourism Day. We hope you enjoyed Pocono Mountains Podcast. Please remember to subscribe anywhere podcasts are available. Come visit us in the Pocono Mountains. Plan your trip today.